ought to be more people like you, more people who give so willingly to people like me.
This is an old urban tale which some of you may have heard before. I don't know whether many of you know that the god Zeus created a particular woman to destroy man. He created a woman called Pandora, and he gave her two things. He gave her a box which he told her never to open, and he gave her a curiosity which he knew she could not contain. He knew eventually one day she would open up the box and would outpour all the evil and pestilence that's plagued society ever since. So tonight, I'd like to illustrate that not only the power of supernatural still exists, but the seed of curiosity still lies in the heart of a woman's bosom. My story takes place in England, the turn of the last century. A man returning home with his bride. And for the first few weeks there, they got to know the maids and the servants and the neighbours and the countryside, but above all the mansion that was to be their home. It was a large, rambling house full of nooks and crannies, long, endless corridors and interjoining staircases. And she happily busied herself getting to know the place from cellar to attic, until one day she realised she was in the west wing she'd never been in before, and on the wall of that west wing lay a tapestry depicting the casting out of Lucifer from heaven. And behind that tapestry lay a door, a locked door. Well, she tried every key on her keyring, but to no avail. The door remained locked. She put her ear to that door and thought that she heard the sounds similar to a child sobbing. She asked the maids and servants about the door, but all they did was just divert their eyes and say, "Go and ask the master." Well, that evening, she did. She said, "What is in that room? Why is the door locked?" Suddenly a coldness came over her husband. He looked at her with eyes that were both angry and frightened, and he said, "You know, you must never, ever attempt to enter that room." She said, "Why?" He said, "All I know is that in the last 400 years that our family have lived here, nobody has ever entered that room, and nobody ever will. Please do not bring up that subject ever again." And so she waited, and weeks passed. She couldn't get this door out of her mind. It was like a magnet to her. Day after day she'd stand in front of that door and wonder what was inside. Until one day, fate smiled upon her. Well, so it seemed. One day she was putting some flowers on an old dresser when she noticed a small recess, and she put her hand in, and as she put her hand in, a small wooden lever moved with her exploring fingers. Suddenly, a panel from behind the dresser slid open, revealing a dust-covered key that she knew without a doubt that this was the key that would open the locked door. Well, the chance for her curiosity to be satisfied was at hand yet again. And one day the husband was called away at work, or so it seemed. That evening she dismissed all the maids and servants early, and when she knew the place was completely still and she was all alone, with a smile of anticipation, she took that key from her pocket, and with the aid of a flickering lamp, she descended the darkness of the stairs, down the corridor, until she stood in front of that door that had intrigued her for so long. With a beating heart, she put that key into the lock, and with a single hollow click, it opened. The door slowly moved inwards. There was nothing that she could see except an inky blackness. So she took a step, and she took another, and another, until she realised she was in the centre of the room. She lifted the lantern above her head, but as she did so, the flame flickered and died. She was engulfed in this darkness, a darkness so heavy, so thick, it was almost physical. She screamed. "Ah!" It was a scream of a woman totally terrified of the knowledge that she knew she was about to be destroyed by the sin of her own curiosity. And mingled with her scream was another sound, a sound so primeval, so vulgar, it defied definition. When suddenly she looked over her shoulder, only to see the door slowly close with a click, not only cutting off her last fearful sobs, but her last chance of escape. Well, what made her scream? What dark, diabolical force lay within that room? If any of you want to find out, you can find out through my email at the end of the show. Thank you.
Now, you know, I only wear my feathers when I'm talking to somebody very theatrical. And was that theatrical enough for you? But this gentleman is not just an actor. He wants to start a brand new theatrical business. A whole theatrical, what do you want to call it?
Yeah, I'd call it a business. I started through the Ashfield Council, just getting a grant.
Ashfield Council, is it? Yes.
And through them, they gave me a small grant to start off my own production.
Did they?
They did, and I don't think they or the church or anyone else in the community realised how big it was going to get.
That's amazing. So you've already done some plays with your theatre group?
Yes, I have. It first of all started off as a little psychodrama group to help people integrate, and it's also very good for multiculturalism, bringing people together.
Yes.
And from that, we then sort of formulated the rehearsals to the final culmination.
Is it connected to a church?
Yes, it is.
Which one?
The Uniting Church. And I will be looking around for other places as well besides churches. And the Ashfield Council said that they were very happy with it, including the mayor, and he's virtually...
They have a good town hall there, don't they?
They do that, and they said when that gets done that I can.
You can use that too. That'll be great.
No problem.
Lovely. And what are
Premier...
the other plays that you've put on?
Well, I actually started doing acting. Started through television, the Metro Television, where they got a government grant.
Metro, yeah.
Metro Television, yes, that's right.
Very good.
And it was actually there that I did write a couple of small little plays. Yes, a little spooky, and you know, a little bit of comedy thrown in as well, because I find that it sort of grounds the characters by putting it together. And
so you write your own plays?
Yes, I do.
Did you write that piece that you just...
No, I didn't write that piece, but that was the start of what I brought in my other...
Inspired
me, yes. It sort of sets the mood, the gothic mood for what I did. My play was actually called Lost Souls, and it was all about, like, I suppose you could call it almost like the Three Stooges meets this strange woman on the highway, and, you know, what's all that about, you know? Was she real? Was she not real? And you know, as it unfolds, you know, you become more and more enveloped in the story. And you know, I had a priest, and you know, having to go through the records of whether or not she lived or not, and that sort of type of thing. Yeah. So, and we were fortunate enough to have some very good special effects there as well, with the fog machines. And
yes, of course.
It was all going, and I had my own backdrops as well, like that I had filmed. Like, because we had a lovely little car, and behind that we had these backdrops of things that I'd videotaped at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, of, you know, trucks going past on eerie highways, and graveyards. It's a wonderful way to spend an evening.
So that is actually on television, but as far as your theatrical group is concerned, you're wanting to do actual theatre. Live audiences.
That's right. Yes, I want to branch out into doing that. That's right. Now that I know that everyone enjoyed it, and that I can see I've got a lot of people behind me that want to start another one.
It's so different, isn't it?
It is, and I just think it should be more encouraged.
You sound to me as if you're really passionate about theatre.
Yes, I am, and as I was saying, I think that more money needs to be put into theatre, because in this country, what I've heard is for every $1 that gets spent on theatre, $100 goes to sport, and in European areas it's the opposite.
That'd be about right. And in Sydney particularly, we have pulled down a lot of beautiful theatres, which is rather sad too. So what we need to do is just get the theatre going again. And
Absolutely.
Great if you...
I always felt that I wanted to go into theatre when I was a kid, and one thing led to another, and I was doing other things with sales and this, that and the other, but
Yes.
now it seems like I've
Good.
come round again. So
Well, good luck with it all. I hope you get your grant, and I hope you make wonderful plays and people go to see it, and let us know and we'll advertise it for you, and we'll ask the people out there to go and watch you, and we'll do anything we can to help. And we're just going to talk for a few minutes to some of your supporters, because I believe you have a lot of supporters.
yes.
And you have people that really want this to happen.
Well, we're not islands. We can't do things on our own.
We can't.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
coming.
much, Joy.
Very
Okay.
much,
All right.
Michael.